Hey everybody. So I did a interview recently, and initially I was just making this video to announce that the interview was up and I wanted everybody to check it out. But there's an interesting comment that the video got that I wanted to respond to. Um, the So I was contacted recently by a user, Valium Sadfem McGirlboss, who is someone very, very, very much on the left, who wanted to wanted to do an interview with me for a documentary she was doing about Hbomberguy. And the documentary, it's linked below. If you watch it, and I would recommend watching it and coming back to this, if you watch it, it's very much her thinking aloud, because she had some she appreciates what Harris does, but had some very real concerns about his ethical practices, his rhetoric, his the way he attacks and goes after people. She had some real concerns there. And so she reached out to me to talk about my experience. And for those who don't know, Harris kind of built his career around doing very let's just say doing commentary about me when I was at the height of my YouTube infamy. There's one video in particular he did that was not a commentary on me. It was not him punching up at all. It was very much an act of him waiting until I had hit rock bottom and coming up to kick dirt in my eye and laugh at me and punch down. And because of that, and because the video is extraordinarily defamatory, says a number of things that are absolutely not true, and casts me in a light that I think is completely unreasonable. It has haunted me for a long time, and it has really stayed with me. And in the course of the interview with Val, which the interview takes up a good chunk of the documentary that she made, because it ended up being kind of the central thematic discussion point, if you will. One of the things I said is that I would just like to have this video removed, because it would mean a lot to me to be able to move on with my life and move forward with my life, not being hounded by this very, very this just very, very disgusting characterization of me that has become the single most popular video or piece of information about me, period. And I would like to not have this be the record of my time on this earth. Anyway, the response to Val's video has been generally positive, and I really do appreciate that everyone who has written in has been largely pleasant and even-handed about it. Obviously, some people have had some reservations. This one person, I'm just now noticing this as I sit here, this one person said, "I can't help but, when hearing him talk, interpreting his admissions that his actions were wrong as token in attempt to make himself appear more reasonable." Well, I'll address that in the context of this other comment that I'm about to address. Anyway, there's a user named Titania who says, "I don't know what would be the utilitarian or Kantian point of view of unlisting the video or not. I value Jordan's life, as toxic as he might be. The things Jordan did still affect me to this day, and the only way I would be comfortable with H-Bomber unlisting the videos would be to make another video celebrating the victims of Jordan and having a section where he acknowledges his growth and unlist the video then." So it goes on from there, but I want to get that first thought out there. So first and foremost, Titania, if there, as I said in the original interview, if there's any concern that there's any concern that you have or anything that you'd like to express to me, I would be totally happy to listen to you about any effect that anything I've said or done has had on you. I don't think I know you personally, and I don't think we've interacted personally, but just in general, if you'd like to talk about that, you're welcome to reach out. I'd be happy to listen to everything you have to say. And Twitter is usually the best way to do it. Then you talk about, I'm concerned by your use of the word victims, and I'm not trying to negate any culpability on my part, but I'd like to know what you're referring to. It's a very strong word. And so again, if you'd like to talk about that, I'd be happy to listen. Privately, I'd like to not further escalate things in the public sphere. Anyway, but yeah, I think doing such a video would kind of defeat the purpose. What I suggested we do is Hbomberguy and Harris and I sit down and do a live stream where we actually talk and chat face to face, because there's a lot of nuance and there's a lot of things that need to be discussed, and a lot of this is really more between me and Harris than it is intended to address the larger concerns that onlookers might have. Anyway, so you go on to say, but that would take a lot of work and might bring worse results than simply unlisting the video. Hbomber is more famous than ever, and such a video might be bringing in more toxic people back to Jordan's life as a way to hurt Hbomber or simply to troll. Keeping the video up hurts Jordan, I know that much, but taking it down without context, I feel is dangerous and unreasonable to do for every single person. So one of the things that people have expressed to me to try to console me in all of this is to say, well, yeah, man, but it might be a big video for you, but you're very, very small potatoes compared to what Hbomberguy is actually doing now, and he's forgotten about, most people have forgotten about all of this, and it's gone on to a much different, bigger and better things and all that. And my attitude is, if I really am just such a blip on the radar, then I don't think it would ripple the waters too much to pull the video. And then dangerous and unreasonable to do for every single person. I know because of what you say later that you're talking about the potential for other people to try to take advantage of that it might set a bad precedent. I'll get to that in a minute. As far as bringing toxic people back into my life, you have to remember the reason I got into such a toxic situation in the first place ultimately was not out of any political allegiance to those people, but simply because I was in a very lost and emotionally destitute place in my life. And they came in and offered, a listening ear, the way those people are expert at recruiting people who are lost and directionless in their lives by offering them a sympathetic ear and all of that. So my potential to be re-victimized in that way is non-existent. There's no way I would ever want to have anything to do with those individuals ever again. That said, also the more specific people that might want to come back into my life and re-victimize me, I think are largely in that regard. I think are largely neutered at this point. They none of them have the influence or the respect that they used to have. So I'm not concerned about that as much for myself. Also because, you know, when you're in an abusive situation, as I was, one of the things that happens is you start to think, if any knowledge of this comes to light, I'll get blamed and everybody will believe that other person. I've already seen the opposite thing happen. I've already seen people without me having to do any kind of response to those people realize how horrible they are. And so I don't think that anything they do would have any great traction in that regard. So I appreciate your concern, but it's not something I'm worried about. Then you go on and say, Jordan is still a capitalist and would have my people starve because of a chart and the invisible hand of the free market. There I have to say no. No, I would not. That I can tell you honestly and truthfully from my heart that no, I'm not. I did not become a capitalist or become I should say, a proponent of capitalism for the sake of letting people starve. Nor would I get behind it if I thought that's what would result from it. It is my opinion that capitalism would, of all of the systems, economic systems available, capitalism really and truly does feed the largest number of people, and most effectively. I really truly do believe that. I don't know who you're referring to when you say my people. I have to assume you mean maybe an ethnic or national minority or something, an ethnic minority or an underdeveloped nation or something like that. And no, whether or not I'm right is certainly or correct in my assertions is certainly an open topic for discussion, and I could entirely be wrong. But as far as my beliefs and my intentions, no, it is not my intention that anybody starve, and I would not get behind it if I thought that was the case. So no, honestly, I don't feel that way. And so. Anyway, you go on to say, the issue I have is trust. I don't trust Jordan to not relapse or for other even more untrustworthy people to try and take videos about themselves down when they haven't changed. Even this comment from a random person is something I fear could trigger Jordan going back into the way he was. Titania, there is absolutely nothing on this earth that could certainly not trigger me or ever in any way motivate me to want to go back to the way things were. That 2014 to 2016 window of my life was the worst experience I have ever had. I am legitimately I am. You don't know half of what went on. You don't even know the half of what went on behind the scenes. But Titania, I spent a great deal of time, energy, and money and tremendous personal risk getting myself out of that situation. And if nothing else, if I was to revert to the way things were, it would literally mean that I wasted thousands and thousands of dollars in the legal fees that I had to incur to get myself out of that situation. That bravado-filled, sarcastic, snarky person is not me and never was me. It was something that I forced myself to do with greater and greater difficulty the older and more mature I got. And now, at almost 40 years old, I am deeply, deeply ashamed of that. And I realize your concern, and I completely understand it, and I realize if somebody that I despised on YouTube came at me from this perspective, I would be reluctant to release that position. But I think that, or that perspective, but ultimately, all I can do is pay it forward one step at a time. I've continued to do commentary on things that are concerning to me, issues that are of interest to me, and that sort of thing. And all I can do is try to all I can do is try to present a better self and a better perspective. And that's where it comes to this other person who had said, I feel like he's trying to make himself sound more reasonable. Yeah, that is what I'm trying to do. Because the thing is, I have been for years now in a position where I hate the sound of my own name. I have watched my own name become synonymous with parody and ridicule to the point that I've even had people close to me suggest that I change my name. I have hated the sound of my own name to the point that a few days ago, I had somebody who really does think well of me in my private life introduce me to somebody that was an important person in their life in a very positive and very joyous manner. And as I shook that person's hand and heard my own name said in a positive context, I had to just instantly force myself almost not to cry. I realize that you have tremendous skepticism. And like I said, if somebody that I viciously and passionately disagreed with came to me with the same thing, I would probably be wondering what ulterior motives they had. But all I can do is tell you that what I value, what I've come to value in myself is an ability, hopefully, to help build people up rather than tear them down. And I realize, I have trouble trusting too. I have trouble trusting, especially because of the world that I found myself stuck in as a result of all of this bullshit we're talking about. Because of that, I interacted with somebody that permanently affected my ability to trust anybody. And so I understand where you're coming from. And there's not one thing I can say that will alleviate that in your mind, nor should there be, because I don't want you to be taken for a sucker. All I can do is pay things forward one step at a time. I'm not going to pretend that my positions on the issues are not what they are, but what I will do is articulate them better and in a more conciliatory fashion so that there's less confusion and ambiguity about what it is I believe. I don't really have it in me to be that wisecracking, sarcastic, shoot from the hip guy anymore. And I don't want to be ever again. Leonard Cohen said that the problem with attitude is that attitude keeps us from getting to know the real you. And I like that a lot. The only thing I can do is just pay it forward one day at a time and try to better show the real me. And again, I realize your skepticism, but more and more I am getting comfortable showing this side of this reality of who I am. The grandiosity that you saw before is not me, and it never was. For some people out there, that YouTube persona really is all they are and all they have. But honestly, I can't. I mean, I honestly, I feel I have a lot more to offer than that, and I'd like the opportunity to offer that. Like I said, I will still probably have opinions you don't agree with, but hopefully I can articulate them in a way that finds higher ground rather than just drawing lines in the sand, if that makes sense. And then you go on to say, but I have no power over his fate. Jordan, if you were reading this, I would say that if you still want Hbomber to take down the video and you wanted to make it easier for it to happen, keep doing what you were doing and consider helping feminist causes and spreading the message of love. I cannot guarantee it will all be pretty or that it will result in the video being taken down, but from both a Kantian and utilitarian point of view, it could help you and the world become better. By the end of it, you might not even need the video to be taken down. I want the best for everyone, and that includes you. Thank you for that, and I believe you're sincere in saying that. Yeah, I mean, the best thing, I think the best thing, you talk about taking on feminist causes and that sort of thing. The best thing that I have found is truly for each one of us to work for the betterment of the people that we immediately interact with. You know, the internet makes us feel like we can take on the world and makes us feel like we have access to the world. I think a lot of times we just end up blowing a lot of hot air, though. The best thing, I think, is to focus on helping the people in our immediate vicinity. I'm not going to hold up any list of accomplishments in that regard because I don't want to be, I don't want those to seem like token gestures or anything like that, as that earlier person mentioned. But the best I can do is to, I think, is to pay that forward in the one-to-one personal sense. And so you are right, though, about trying to put out the best possible vibes and everything, and just try to be a force for positive change. That is what I would like to see in all matters. You know, like there are a number of video ideas that I have, commentaries I have, that I haven't done because I've been wrestling with the idea of, like, how do I contextualize this in such a way that it comes off as sincere, it doesn't come off as braggadocious, and it offers the best possible forward perspective, or moving forward perspective. So, and there's been a lot of issues on my mind in that regard lately. So that's really just what I wanted to say in all of that. Like I said, Titania, I'm sorry. If you are, if you're interested, I'd be happy to talk. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and right now I've taken a number of steps, and I'm willing to take the next one. So that's the best thing I can say. Anyway, thank you for your time, everybody watching this. I hope you check out Val's video. She put a lot of time and a lot of effort into it, and it really is interesting above and beyond just my involvement in it. So anyway, take care.